Doug Hayes was a key link for decades and generations of academic and sport development at Western. He had a long history of contribution and accomplishment beginning in 1969 as a lecturer and coach in the Faculty of Physical Education.
Doug was an outstanding teacher in the kin program. He, towards the end of his career, one story that exemplifies that was he was hired on contract to teach biomechanics course. Part of that meant that he didn't have to do the labs, but Doug was so concerned about the students and the learning experience that he actually attended all those labs anyways and put in a full day of extra time every week.
From the beginning, Doug struck me as someone who understood his responsibility as a coach, while at the same time he was able to maintain a genuine interest and friendship with each of his players. Ron Potter.
1971, Doug was the defensive coordinator of the Vanier Cup National Championship football team. That very same year, Doug began his first year as head coach of the women's basketball team. In his inaugural season, they won the provincial championship.
He took a team that barely won a game in my first year to a team that won all of their games in Ontario all 3 years. We went undefeated all 3 years. He was my mentor. I really owe a lot in my career to Doug.
In 1974-75, Doug began his reign as the head coach of the men's basketball team. He soon started to make ground, and by the late 70s and early 80s, his teams were more and more competitive. And in 1983, the Mustangs captured a conference championship with a triple overtime win against Waterloo at Waterloo.
McKenzie drops it in. Hurd.
Turnaround jumper gives the lead back to the Mustangs.
Hurd's had a magnificent game here today.
In terms of special memories of Doug, probably the most memorable one as a player was the triple overtime victory against University of Waterloo, and that was in my 5th year. It was a very emotional game, and it was very satisfying for us to win a championship for Doug. In particular, I really enjoyed how Doug celebrated the victory and the delight that he took in the victory and in the success of the program.
After a year on academic leave, Doug returned with a vengeance, and in 1985-86, the Stangs played their way into the Final Four in Halifax.
If they're pressing, we're in Bertha. If it's man-to-man on the press, just get it to the guards and get out of the way. If they run man-to-man, we're just in high post. If they're overplaying, look for opportunities to go back door. But show the good patience, okay? Nothing silly. Keep the turnovers down. Just work the clock. Keep it going now, guys.
Go, guys, come on.
Everybody's got a board, everybody.
Let's do it.
Come on, solid D, guys.
Before Doug retired from coaching, the following year he had laid the basis and momentum for a Western basketball program that has competed successfully at the national level ever since. In the first year I joined Doug on the sidelines in 85-86, I was already hooked on Doug as a coach and a person by that time, and now for me, I was hooked on coaching basketball for the rest of my career at Western, and I owe a lot of that to Doug.
I had the pleasure of working closely with Doug for 10 years when we were intercollegiate coordinator counterparts. Doug was very well respected by all the student athletes and coaches. He was also very fun-loving with a great sense of humor, which made working with him really enjoyable. And I think our administrative unit in the office had a lot of fun over those years, and I attribute that to Doug's presence.
A word or two that I could give you about Doug, it would probably be his sincerity and his dedication.
He carried the name of Western far and wide and held it in good stead.
Doug Hayes, to me, was like a second father when I attended Western.
Doug Hayes is an extremely committed individual to his coaching profession and to his teaching.
You'd hear the same things from both men and women. I mean, he was a great coach to both.
Doug Hayes, outstanding human being.
Doug cared deeply about the people he played and worked with, and we all cared deeply about Doug. Doug Hayes, a Mustang legend.